Many of us around the world are united in our experience of social isolation. Many of us around the world are united in our experience of social distancing. But something unusual has happened. Many of us around the world are finding that social exclusion is leading to social inclusion. I'm Dr. Jonathan. I work with organizations to make them inclusive, and I'm on a mission to help 1 million people like you to make your workplace inclusive. Get your pen and paper ready because we're having a shared experience and it's leading to unexpected consequences. Social isolation and social distancing. I wouldn't be surprised if these phrases make it into the Oxford English Dictionary. I wouldn't be surprised if these phrases come to define not only 2020, but this entire decade. I can't tell you how much I want this not to be true. What is true is that the social exclusion that we're experiencing as a society is leading to social inclusion at the individual level. This is the first in a 3-part series about what social exclusion means for diversity and inclusion. I'm not sure what it's been like for you, but in London, we're allowed out for 1 hour a day, and that's for exercise. And the only other times we're supposed to leave our homes is if it's absolutely necessary. That's how much trouble we're in. We're told that not staying at home is putting your life at risk and the lives of others. Now, I don't need to go into the details of why, but I do want to put this statement into context and remind you of the relative privilege that I have and many of you have in this situation. I wash my hands no less than 10 times a day, and I'm at home. This means I have access to clean running water. That's a privilege. I have a home. I live alone. I don't require assistance as part of my day-to-day life. So social distancing on a day-to-day basis is not a physical challenge for me, or as tough as it is for some people who are sharing a home, who are carers, who are parents. That's a privilege. Through the magic of the internet, I'm able to do most of my work from home. That's a privilege. A lot of people in the world don't have these privileges, and therefore a lot of people in the world will experience difficulty in what's being portrayed as being our civic duty, to protect our health, the health of the nation, and the health of the entire world. So what's your privilege here? We're experiencing social exclusion at a society level. It's really important to note that social exclusion and social isolation are not the same thing. Here's a couple of useful ways to think of social isolation. One way is the non-participation of an individual or a group in society's mainstream institutions. Another way is to think of it as a continuum. You know how in politics we've got the political right and the political left? That's a continuum. I want you to think about a different continuum concerned with how an individual participates with others in society. At one end is social isolation, which suggests someone who doesn't really engage with others. At the other end is social participation, which suggests someone who does engage with others. These are useful ways of thinking about social isolation. If you notice, the continuum is probably a little bit easier to access. It's something that can easily be observed. And funnily enough, researchers like that. So that's social isolation. Think of social exclusion as social isolation that is beyond the control of the individual. Right now, we're being asked to socially isolate ourselves, to socially exclude ourselves. That's why the term self-isolation is being used. Terms like lockdown are also being used. I hear that term when I think of prison movies, security forces, the police, basically the authorities. People in prison are socially isolated by the state, socially excluded by the state. We're being asked to socially isolate by the state, and we're being asked to socially exclude ourselves. So what effect is all of this having? Social isolation is believed to be one of the social causes of depression, as well as poor sleep quality, accelerated cognitive decline, poor cardiovascular function, and impaired immunity at every stage of life. Immunity, the one thing we all need more of right now. I know what you're thinking. After all of that, where's the good news? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel? Well, the social exclusion that we're experiencing as a society is leading to social inclusion at the individual level. It's having a positive impact that I didn't expect to see, and I've picked out a few things that you may find interesting. First thing, like many of you, I've communicated with more people than I normally would. Like many of you, I've spent hours texting, speaking, and video calling people, some of whom I wouldn't normally speak to that much, and I consider myself to be pretty social. So like many of you, I'm choosing to make contact with more people on a more frequent basis. I've had loads of people reach out, and I've done the same, and it's been a really nice experience, a really warm experience, and it continues to be so. And I'm not alone. This is what people are telling me. So the social exclusion is leading to an increase in social participation. Now this matters because in an inclusive workplace, everyone can participate. Everyone performs, everyone belongs, everyone is able to reach their potential. And so there's a massive lesson in there. Maybe we should continue with this social participation. The second thing I want to talk about is engagement. Going outside right now is a privilege. If you're considered to be vulnerable, the message in the UK and several other countries is don't go outside. It's a very clear message. For those of us who can go outside, we're finding that most people are practicing social distancing. What this means in practice is that many of the people who would normally be walking along, looking down at their phones, they're now paying attention to the people around them. They're making eye contact with the people around them. And in some cases, they're even saying hello to the people around them. They're more engaged. The social exclusion is leading to an increase in individual engagement. Now, acknowledging the presence of others and the experience of others is what we've tried to do here. It's at the heart of creating an inclusive workplace that we all need. One of the three biggest problems that organizations experience on their inclusion journey is they have difficulty engaging with the people that they want to include. Engaging people is easier if you acknowledge them and their experiences. The third and final point I want to make concerns the environment. Two close friends of mine called me up in the past week and said that in the morning they can hear the birds singing. It's remarkable because it's not something that they've noticed before, but it suggests that on some level their environment is changing, at least in their own mind. Now, one thought that the decline in human activity was benefiting the environment as a whole. The other one thought that they themselves were now receptive to observing their own environment. Now, either way, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that the reset we're experiencing means that our social environments have changed. We did a show a while back about diversity and inclusion climates. I think that the social exclusion is changing your inclusion climate, and this creates massive opportunities for change right now. So what are you going to do about that? Well, one suggestion we've got is to take part in our lockdown challenge. It's quick and easy and it's practical and it's designed to help you get closer to creating an inclusive workplace. Every week we set a new challenge. It's a task or it's an exercise and it's designed to help you in a pragmatic and practical way. We're also offering a series of masterclasses to provide you with structure, tools and principles to help you consider your next moves. If you want details of any of this, join our group, the Element of Inclusion community. So let's wrap this up. What are the key messages here? Based on my experience, 1. Social exclusion may lead to increased social participation. 2. Social exclusion may lead to increased engagement by individuals. And 3. Social exclusion may change your social environment for the better. So what do you think? How are you experiencing social exclusion? Get in touch or leave a message. I would love to hear from you. If you want to continue the conversation, join our LinkedIn group, the Element of Inclusion community. If you've learned something from today's show, please share it with one other person that you think would benefit and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.